Hey there. So, my next guest, entrepreneur from a young age, built his business up from scratch by himself and has been able to expand into different industries. He focuses on merchandise, specifically kind of on the gaming area. And it's really cool because he's got some brands you may be familiar with. This is a really fun interview. He talks about what it's like being an entrepreneur, especially a young entrepreneur. And I'll admit, like, I really liked him. And I know you're all going to love this episode. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today, I have a very special guest with us. I have Anthony Scalzi. Hey there, Anthony. How's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you?
It is a beautiful sunny day in Las Vegas. How about yourself?
It is nice and sunny over here in Connecticut on the East Coast, so we're looking good.
Fantastic. Probably a little bit cooler than I'm at. I think we were at 118 yesterday.
Oh yeah, much cooler. We're like at around 75 degrees right now, 70.
Oh, that's chilly. That's sweater weather.
Yeah.
All right. So Anthony, I actually like getting right into the show. I don't do a lot of small talk. That was the extent of it. So why don't we begin by just telling us a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure. So I started my first business when I was 13 years old, and I ever since then I've been an entrepreneur, and I've just been nothing but hungry to get more and more in this industry. Um, Personally, when I'm not working, I'm gaming and I'm spending quality time with my girlfriend. Other than that, I mean, I'm always constantly thinking about my business, and that's one of the faults of being an entrepreneur. You never stop thinking about your business. It just never stops.
It drives your girlfriend crazy, doesn't
Yeah, it does.
it? My wife's a co-owner in my business and she still goes crazy. Like, why are you still thinking? Like, because that's all I can think about. All right. So before we kind of get into all that, I really want to talk about your business. I want to talk about everything we have coming up. But I ask every single person who comes on the show a single question. So I'm going to ask you, just like I ask everybody else.
Sure.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you?
I'm a solid 10.
Why is
It's
that?
Well, most people are, I wouldn't say are not honest or forthcoming, but I'm a very blunt person, and just through all my life experiences, it pushed me to like be very straightforward with people. But in terms of like being weird, how it's weird is that like I don't really think about what other people are thinking about myself or whatever. I just do what I'm doing and I have fun with it. And you know, it's something a part of people that I feel like you want to be different. You want to stand out and you want to just be yourself and not have to think about all these other things like these social, you know, outlooks people have on you. It shouldn't be that way. But yeah, so I'm very weird. I think one of my special talents is that I could beatbox, but I don't put that out there to people. But that's like one of the craziest things that I can do. But yeah, I don't know. That's why I think I'm weird. I do so many different things, and I'm always the meme in my friend group too. So that's why I also think I'm weird. So,
So you beatbox. You grew up either in the late 90s or early 2000s.
yeah, pretty much.
All right. So Anthony, this is the Gamerpreneur podcast. So I do need your gaming cred. When did you first start playing video games?
When I was about, I want to say about 8 years old, I was playing on the Game Boy. That was my first handheld console. And then after that, when I was about 9 or 10 years old, I got my first console, which was my GameCube. And that's where I got involved in gaming, and that's where I started.
Okay, fantastic. And I'm assuming you continued to play since then.
Oh yeah, it's hard though, to be honest. Ever since, you would think running a gaming business gives you more time to play video games. It's actually quite the opposite, and it's not, it's not the best, but you get your, different experiences here and there. But I mean, but yeah.
That's funny. You're not the first person to tell me that. A quote I had from, oh man, it's an analytics company that works with Twitch. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. He told me the deeper you get into the gaming industry, the less time you have for video games. So
Yeah,
I'm right there with you. I totally understand. What do you play today, if anything?
Today, well, primarily I play League of Legends, surprisingly, because I used to not like those types of games, but my friends really got me into it. I mean, I used to come from Call of Duty. Like most people play first person shooters, but my favorite go-to game, if it's not playing League, it's Call of Duty with my friends. But I like playing a variety of different games. So, it could be like Skyrim, I could be playing Teamfight Tactics, and then playing, ARAM. It doesn't matter. I can keep switching it up and changing it up, playing single player games. So yeah.
Man, Skyrim came out nearly 10 years ago and you're still playing it?
Yeah, I've been
I
beating
haven't
that
finished
game.
everything. I
I haven't
understand.
finished it. It never ends.
Okay. One more gaming question, then we'll move on to the business side of stuff.
Sure.
You have been playing, you've had access to a lot of different games over the years, but if you had to pick one as your all-time favorite, which one would it be?
My all-time favorite game, hands down, was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. It was such a special moment in my life getting into that community because that was during the era of when trick shotting and sniping came about. That's when MLG was so popular, and I would compete back in the day, and that's what led me to here. And that game was my top tier game all day. I'd play it.
I love it. Okay, let's get over to the preneur part. So, before you kind of talk about your current business, maybe you give us a little bit about your professional background. How did you end up here?
So, like I mentioned earlier on, I started my business when I was very young, so I had no background.
So it's been the same business the whole time.
Yes, it has.
Fantastic.
So I actually went to college and I got my degree in business administration. So I have my associates in that. And I took 2 to 3 years I went to Tungsten's Community College and I got my degree there. And after that, I made that commitment to really be determined to take on my businesses head on and just really just take it to the next level because I'd have all the focus, all the time to just put it towards this.
Okay.
So
So let's go back in time then. You were 13 years old. What compelled you to start a business?
I saw there was this guy on YouTube. His name was Sam from Imagine Customs, and I saw him making custom controllers. And ironically, I just really loved art at the time, so I really wanted to do what he was doing. So I went to Home Depot, I bought some cans of some paint, and I came back and I took my Xbox 360 apart and I painted it. And it was a windy day and everything blew away. But you know what? The irony in all of it is I still have it, and I actually ended up fixing it years later. But yeah, that's what really got me into doing this, was that Sam from Magic Customs inspired me to really like get into custom controllers, because originally that's where I had picked up how to airbrush, and then I was able to start getting into more detailed artwork and shapes and stuff like that. But yeah,
Okay. So the name of your company is everywhere, but how do you pronounce it?
everybody always messes up the name, but it's pronounced Aporia Customs. And I've had people say Aporia or like Aporio, and I'm like, there's not even an O at the end of my at the end of the name. And it's always interesting to hear people say my name because it's always different.
Okay, fantastic. So, and what is the extent of your services? Do you just airbrush controllers, or do you do more than that? What is it you do?
So Aporia Customs is a one-stop gaming shop where you can come to us to get all of your customization needs done, meaning merchandise from clothing to peripherals to, miscellaneous items like mouse pads and, glassware. I mean, you name it, I can do it. I've been asked to do some pretty cool projects, and product development and research and development for that is something I specialize in. So I always am creating something new or trying to push out a new product into the market.
Okay. And how's been business?
I'll be honest with you, business has been tough ever since when COVID had happened last year. Um, and even now, it's impacted my business heavily. About 50% of my business was lost because events went away. So fighting to keep this business open was not only just personal to me, but I was so determined because I had other people that are a part of this journey with me now. So it means more to me to help them along with my goals as an entrepreneur in this business.
All
So
right. Now, Anthony, you started young. What was it like becoming an entrepreneur? Did you come from an entrepreneurial background? Your family were, business owners, or did you kind of have to figure this out and your parents are like, would you stop wasting your time with that stuff?
Yeah, my parents had definitely were confused about what I was doing, but my mom came around and she was really supportive about it. But primarily my parents, so my mom, she was uh, a hairdresser and she worked for herself. My dad, he was a manager at a grocery store and he worked there for like 23 years. And then ever since COVID, he lost his job and he found a new job at Whole Foods and stuff like that. So I got to see just kind of like the whole different perspective throughout growing up, which was you never if you work for someone else, there's no guarantee that your job is going to be there. And self-sustainability in this world, which I found that I didn't like working for people as much as a kid, so I was determined to work for myself. My guidance, I didn't have any guidance. I had the support of my parents and my friends, and uh, it was that's all I had. I had knew nothing. I didn't know anything what I was doing. I was all learning just new things as I was going. So it was always something
Fantastic.
new.
Okay. And what was that journey like? Because you started, just with painting and then you kind of built this up. Like, how has it gone? If like you ended up going to events, what were the nuts and bolts of your business and how you kind of walked through time?
So in the beginning stages of my business, I started doing custom controllers for 5 years, and I was partnered with a company called Threadix, and they were a Canadian company that was making merchandise in the space. And we ended up partnering together, and we were co-marketing different products and services, and then eventually ended up quitting. The one thing my community asked me to do was, Anthony, why don't you just do clothing too? And I thought about it. I'm like, in the back of my mind, like nobody actually knows this, but this is a little special for this podcast. I actually hate clothes. My growing up, my mom would take me into like Macy's, TJ Maxx. I'd be there for hours as a kid, and I hated it. I couldn't stand being near clothes. And the irony in it, today, I'm surrounded by it still, and I work with clothes. So, um, that's the funny part about my job. Um, but yeah, so there's a lot of different things that happen over the course of time with this, but yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about you a little more personally. Other than your clothes phobia, um, what makes you different or unique? Because I don't mean necessarily weird. I mean, most people aren't entrepreneurs. And most entrepreneurs do not start at age 13. Obviously, there's something about you that has driven you, has there's some passion in you that has brought you to this place that maybe someone else somewhere out there can glean from you. Like, this is that thing that he has. Maybe I can emulate that.
Yeah, so I mean, after the transition of like adding merchandise and everything to my business model and starting offering all these different services, I really wanted to solve a problem in the space. That's what really driven me to doing all of this too. I saw that small teams and content creators were starting, but nobody was willing to work with them. And I thought to myself, but that doesn't make any sense. Everybody has to start somewhere, and someone needs to help these people. And in the community, I've always wanted to work with small individuals because those are the people that are willing to put all they have into it. And my passion for the gaming industry came from also just going to events and getting to see the experience of a lifetime, seeing people that I've been playing games with over the internet for years, and then all of a sudden we get to come together and become really close friends, and experience something. It's almost like this magical world that the gaming industry is, but there's a dark side to every everything. So it's always interesting to see like the different perspectives in the space. um but yeah, I was really determined to solve a problem, and that problem, which I found, was that there really wasn't a platform to offer like everything on like one area, and that was actually Amazon. Amazon sells everything. So my business structure in theory was based off of Amazon's to create a customization platform for everybody to get whatever they needed so they could save money on shipping. They can get it at an affordable price and get high quality and feel that they could also feel security, because most companies ended up either scamming or closing down. So there was really, everybody kept paying the same setup fees over and over and over again. And that's a lot of money. So it was really, again, coming up with a solution for this industry.
Okay. What is something that you think the customers you have or the clients you don't have yet misunderstand about the merchandise world?
Well, that's a great question, because this industry, what I've realized after being mentored by someone outside of the gaming industry who works at just owning a shop that makes custom clothing, is that our industry asks for so many free things that they have yet to earn or understand what the value of that means. And I actually came to the breaking point where I was like, well, I have to be so strict on sponsoring people, because they're sponsoring people. Not everybody will do as they, that's stated in the contract, or if for just a simple thing, if we ask them like, hey, could you push this out there, if it's not in the agreement, nobody's willing to actually. I feel like brand loyalty has gone away. Everybody's just looking out to get the, that quick fix of like, oh, something for free, I'll do this little quick thing and I'll make some money, or I'll get some free things from this person. But that's how it feels like on the business side of things, of looking at it. I think a lot of companies have understood that's the mentality of a lot of people right now. But there are a lot of individuals out there who have built their careers, and they understand that they need to market, they need to do these things to get what they're receiving. Um, and that's what I would say is like the biggest difference with merchandise in the space, because everybody has these expectations of getting free, but that's not reality. You got to pay for the things that you want, especially
Absolutely.
custom.
It's funny
So,
you mentioned that. I get messages every day on Facebook, somebody asking me to just give them money. I'm like,
oh, really?
not even for like to do for sponsorship or an exchange for anything. Just give me money. Like, no, no.
I, to this day, I think that one of my biggest pet peeves is I always get a message on Aporia Customs Twitter or Instagram, doesn't matter what platform, can I get a sponsorship? And I always think to myself, does anybody research? Does anybody read anymore? Does anybody care about what they're presenting themselves as? Because that just sounds like they're just always asking, but they're not giving anything up or anything like that. But that's so
Right.
interesting that it happens to you.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, Anthony, I want to go back in time with you. I want to get in a time machine. Okay. We're going to hop in it together. We're going to go back to back when you were 13 years old. You're going to get to
Okay.
go up to little Anthony back then. And you're going to be able to tell little Anthony everything you know now, all the good, all the bad, all the ups, all the downs, all of the knowledge and mentorship you've received through the years to be able to impart upon him and just give him everything so he can do it bigger, better, faster, more successful, whatever you define that word as. But if there was only one thing he absolutely had to know, what would that one thing be?
I would say, honestly, don't fear in messing up or failing. I want you to fail. That's what I would tell myself. And I know my younger self would be like, what do you mean? And the thing is that you need to fail in life to learn, to excel, and be better. If you're afraid of failure, stop. You need to fail, because you are going to learn so much from those mistakes, and you're going to improve upon that over and over and over again. That's what I would say.
I love that. That's a fantastic. I love that because I was just talking to somebody yesterday who was telling me they're afraid to fail. I'm like, you have to fail. And I'm like, look at my show. Everybody who's ever had a successful business, they all talk about you need to fail. And here you are, right? Proving my. So if you're watching, that's one for you. All right. On that note, actually,
Yeah,
I actually do believe that we learn the most in our life from our failures, not necessarily our successes. Because when you succeed the first time you try something, you may not know what happened, right? You just might be lucky. But if you
right.
fail, you got to take a look at it, got to figure out what went wrong, iterate, and then move forward in order to succeed. So I'd like to ask you, Anthony, what do you consider your biggest failure in life, and what did you learn from it?
My biggest failure with my own experiences was just taking on more than I can handle. I'll be honest, like I am involved in a lot of different things beyond Aporia Customs. I actually got equity in a company called Airdrop Crates that 3 years ago. And I also, after that, like 2 years, the following was the opportunity that I had to buy Jerky XP. And that was my first business that I purchased. What I've noticed is buying businesses or getting more involved in other things takes you away from the focus point of what you originally created. So that's where I feel like my biggest failure was and is taking more on than I can handle. Even if you bring more people on, it just comes down to financially, can you hold it all together? And I'll be honest, it's not easy, and you will lose sleep over it, and it's a lot of stress. And that's the one thing I've definitely failed in the most.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Now, on the
Yeah.
flip side of that question, what is something that you're working to improve on yourself today?
So I actually struggle with depression. So I try to look at everything that I do, and I try not to feed into that, because I'll give you an example. I did a job for DreamHack, and that was the biggest job I've ever had in my career. The one thing I kept doing to myself, every shirt and every jacket that I made, I kept questioning myself, is, are they going to like it? Are they going to, are they going to see these little tiny details that I see in making these? There's things as a creator that only you will see when making things. And there's things that as a consumer you don't look for. And I would nitpick that over and over and over, and it would just eat away at me. But that was hard. That was something that was definitely a challenge. But um yeah, I mean,
So,
when you create your own things, especially, you always look for the faults, but you never look towards what could be, gained from it. What are the positive things? So struggling with that depression is something that I feel like a lot of people have, and they deal with every day, and everyone has their own problems, but just look towards the positive side of things. Don't look at the negative at all. Just know it's there, but just keep looking at the positive. That's how you have to keep looking at life and even business.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely. That's beautiful advice. And that's I'm going to refer this episode over to somebody. I know exactly who needs to hear that message. That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Anthony.
yeah,
One more fun question before we bring this in for a landing. All right.
yeah.
Um, what do you think something is about yourself that people misunderstand about you the first time they meet you?
So I actually talk so much that people are afraid to say anything. So I get, because I love what I do so much, I just nonstop ramble. But every new person I meet feels like they can't stop me and say, hey, look, can I get a word in, please? And it's like, oh, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I do this all the time. And that was like one of the things that I'm always working on. But the one thing I gotta say is, like, you gotta just be honest at times. Like, it's okay. You could say stop. Like, I need to get a word in so I can contribute to the conversation. So a lot of people misunderstand that about me. That is that I'm trying to dominate the conversation, talk the whole time. It's not the case. It's always that I'm always my brain. I'm very scatterbrained, but I'm also very, like, it just never stops. So I'm always it's always running, and I always want to keep going and going and going until, like, even we were talking in the beginning, the small talk. Like, I'll keep going unless you stop me. So that's a lot. That's one of the biggest misconception is that, and I feel like some people might tie that to ego and things like that. And real quick, I'll touch on that. But, like, I feel like throughout anyone's career, eventually you will develop an ego and it'll happen to you, but you have to catch yourself at a younger, like, I was lucky enough to catch it when I was younger and stop it. Because it's a scary thing. Nobody wants an egotistical person coming to you and you know telling you what to do and this and that. So a lot of people misunderstood my excitement for things as ego, and then I ended up having to figure out different ways to talk in business meetings and things like that, or just in the industry in general. So, but yeah, that's probably the biggest misconception.
Wonderful. All right, Anthony, this has been a fantastic interview. Thank you so much. How do people find you? Where are you at on social media, your website, contact info, all that, please?
Sure. So a lot of people now can easily search up my name, Anthony Scalzi, and they can find me that way. My handle on Twitter is Anthony.Scalzi. And, my other social medias, you can find me on my business, Aporia Customs, Jerky XP, and Airdrop Crates. You can find me on all those platforms. And if you ever need any business advice, or you are looking for merchandise, beef jerky and popcorn or snacks, or just any kind of subscription box for the next month for your next kick, just let me know.
I love the plug.
It's sorry,
Uh,
it's a force of
oh
habit.
no, I'm glad you did it. I wish more people would on this show. Next time though, I got to charge you, right?
Yeah.
Anthony, thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate you taking the time to come on with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I know it took a while to get here when we were talking, but I'm glad I was able to come and be on your podcast. Thank you so much for having
Absolutely.
me. This was awesome.
It really was. All right. And for everybody else, I'm going to remind you all, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur.